After Rose has yeeted Yuzito into the forest of darkness, he is damn sure that he will die. He turns his back to the ground and begins healing himself. He is determined to not die at this place and somehow manages to land unscathed. He realizes that the only way he can return home is by taking on a giant grizzly. Just as Yuzito is thinking about all this, a giant grizzly appears out of nowhere and starts following him. Yuzito was not expecting it to be that huge, but he believes that he can outrun since he survived Rose's hellish training. However, much to his surprise, the grizzly manages to keep up with him. Realizing that he has no other option left, Yuzito strengthens his resolve to take on the grizzly and defeat it here. Suddenly, two blue grizzlies also appear behind the giant grizzly, shattering Yuzito's resolve. Running away from them, Yuzito notices a waterfall nearby and rushes towards it. With no other option left, Yuzito jumps into the water and for the time being, he's safe from the grizzlies. After getting out of the water, he takes off his clothes and leaves them on a branch to dry. He still cannot believe that he encountered a giant grizzly right off the blue. At this point, he just possesses a knife, a canteen, and some ration to survive for a couple of days. He keeps cursing Rose for not even providing him something to light a fire. Yuzito still hasn't figured out how to defeat the giant grizzly, and with that in mind, he decides to doze off. The following morning, he prepares his equipment and sets off to defeat the grizzly. However, in order to do that, Yuzito has to learn more about his opponent and its habitat. Exploring the forest, he comes across some massive claw marks and wonders if they belong to the grizzly. At that moment, he hears rustling from the bushes nearby and gets on his toes. Surprisingly, an injured rabbit appears from the bushes. Yuzito approaches it with caution and ends up healing it with his magic. With this, Yuzito leaves it behind and proceeds to his mission. Much to his surprise, the rabbit begins following him as Yuzito attempts to brush it off, but the rabbit seems hella persistent. Yuzito even tries to outrun it, but the rabbit keeps following him. Surrendering to the rabbit, Yuzito ends up asking it if it knows something about the grizzly's home, with the rabbit nodding its head. This shocks Yuzito and he follows the rabbit. Surprisingly, the rabbit takes him to the grizzly's den when the giant grizzly and the two blue grizzlies are sound asleep. After this, Yuzito gathers some water from a nearby river even though he is unsure if he should drink it or not. In the meantime, the rabbit appears again, contemplating Yuzito to wonder if something is off with it. Time passes by as Yuzito gathers more information regarding the grizzlies, cogitating about ways to defeat the giant grizzly. He's even starting to find the blue grizzlies and the rabbit somewhat cute as he realizes that he's actually having more fun than he thought. After getting back to his den, Yuzito drinks the water he had gathered, and just as he'd suspected, the water gave him an intense stomachache that couldn't be healed with his magic. Seeing his distressed state, the rabbit shows him a pond and assures him that he can drink this water just fine. Suddenly, the rabbit starts trembling in fear, which makes Yuzito wonder if it sensed a monster nearby. As both of them climb a nearby tree, Yuzito notices a massive white snake lurking there, which scares the shit out of him as all he could feel was bloodlust from it. 4 days have passed since this event, but Yuzito still hasn't recovered from this trauma. Despite all this, he keeps observing the grizzlies, and even though he doesn't want to hurt them, he has no other choice if he wants to return back. It starts raining the day Yuzito had planned to defeat the grizzly, but the rabbit stops him from going. Even though Yuzito wants to go, he decides to stay behind till the rain stops. Even after the rain stops and Yuzito is heading towards the grizzly's den, the rabbit attempts to stop him, but Yuzito is determined this time. Upon reaching there, Yuzito comes across the dead bodies of Grizzly Papa and Grizzly Mama. This completely shattered Yuzito as he realizes that Rose will kill him after knowing that someone beat him to the mission. Seeing the claw marks on their bodies, Yuzito realizes that the white snake must have been behind all this and it didn't even kill them for food. At that moment, the baby grizzly appears from the debris and attempts to wake up its mother, but all in vain. Seeing the baby cry, Yuzito decides to take revenge as he sets out to locate the white snake. In the meantime, Inakami and Kazuki went to meet Yuzito, but his comrades inform them that Yuzito has been stationed in the forest for a mission. This shocks them as they believe that Rose is going too far. Kazuki is quite worried about Yuzito, but Inakami calms him down, stating that Yuzito is someone who will eventually find his way through anything and that he'll be fine. With all of this going on, Yuzito is strengthening his body to take on the snake and even prepares a weapon for himself. After he's done with the preparation, he asks the rabbit to lead him to the white snake and instructs him to leave after escorting him there. Following the rabbit's lead, Yuzito eventually comes across the snake only to witness the baby grizzly up against it. Even though Yuzito is scared to the point that he might shit his pants, he believes that nothing is scarier than Rose and proceeds to ambush the monster. Utilizing the weapon he had prepared, he manages to take out one of its eyes, but the snake is still way too overpowered as it manages to bite Yuzito's entire arm. However, much to its surprise, Yuzito keeps healing himself and even pierces the snake's mouth using his knife. Just as he's thinking that he might have a chance at it, the snake's poison starts affecting his body, but at this point, Yuzito knows how to cure poison as he manages to detoxify the poison. With the baby Grizzly's help, Yuzito manages to strike the snake with his entire strength, shattering it from the inside. With this, Yuzito has managed to defeat the white snake. Even though he wants to heal the baby Grizzly's wound, he has utilized most of his magic to cure the poison. Just as he is thinking all this, the snake gets up and at this point, Yuzito can't even move a single muscle. Realizing that his life is in imminent danger, he blames all of this on Rose and even curses her. At that moment, Rose appears out of nowhere and absolutely obliterates the snake. This shocks Yuzito as he cannot comprehend how she got here. Rose then introduces him to her pet Kookaroo, the rabbit who had been accompanying Yuzito all this time. She then tells him that even though she didn't want to interfere, the white snake left her with no other choice. She further tells him that it is a monster modified by the Demon King's army and Seagless failed to finish it off during their last invasion. However, she still cannot believe that it managed to take down a giant grizzly considering that even elite soldiers don't come back unscathed against the grizzly. She also realizes that the baby grizzly has taken a liking to Yuzito when it begins growing at her after hearing their conversation. She then orders the grizzly to carry Yuzito on its back to the capital and it obeys her. With this, Rose picks up both of them with just one arm as she suddenly remembers what Yuzito was calling her before this. As punishment, she forbids Yuzito to get any sleep tonight and carries them outside the forest. Upon reaching the top of the mountain, Rose informs Yuzito that he has earned the right to stand by her side on the battlefield. According to her, he's someone who can withstand pain, physical prowess, and possesses an indomitable spirit. This is something the other two healers don't possess and this is why she wants him. She further informs him that the Demon King's army might make their move in the near future. In the meantime, the Demon King questions his third army commander Vergret regarding their preparations to invade the Linger Kingdom. She informs him that their preparations are almost ready and they can invade the kingdom at any time. Now that Yuzito has cleared the test, this is where the real training begins. I believe Rose will focus more on enhancing Yuzito's mana reserve. Also, the Demon King's army might invade any time. This is getting interesting. Make sure to like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on anything.